Hey mystery solvers, we have some great mysteries to talk about today. But first we want to introduce you to another awesome podcast.
Hey guys.
Hey y'all.
I'm Shelby.
I'm Jenny.
And we are Wives' Tales.
Yeah, we're a weekly podcast all about dark mysteries, twisted legends, spooky folklore, and creepy creatures.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can find us anywhere podcasts are played pretty much.
Yeah.
Y'all keep it twisty.
That's right. Bye.
Go.
Samantha just asked me if I was ready, and I sighed. So here we are.
Welcome back to Perhaps It's You. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we had a podcast out, thanks to fucking Minnesota. I take back any nice thing I've ever said about this place. It's the worst place on earth.
There was a monkey's curse blizzard.
Yes.
We
awakened an ancient curse upon ourselves by uncovering the Dayton's mummified monkey
that was in the ceiling of an old department store, and once that monkey came out, there was a historic blizzard.
Unleashed a historic April blizzard on us.
The most snow we got all year. The snow in my backyard came up to my knees.
It was insane. It was so bad. I was trying to help dig out the day after the blizzard, and the snowblower we have, which is admittedly a piece of shit, but the snow was taller than the snowblower. Like, it was deeper than the snowblower was tall. So I had to kind of like keep backing up and then taking like a running start and like chisel away at the snow with the snow. It was awful. It was the worst in April, and I just wanted to just get on the next plane out, except there was no planes leaving because the airport was shut down.
Everything shut down.
It was horrible.
Businesses that never closed were like, nope, not happening.
This is not happening. It was terrible.
We couldn't get together to record because you couldn't really move.
Yeah, you couldn't drive.
I was just like,
it was not safe.
Stuck in my house for a couple of days.
The whole weekend. Yep.
And I went, oh, this is April, huh? Well, maybe next year it'll be warm. Like, maybe we're going into Game of Thrones style seasons where winter will just last for years. Okay.
Well, that's what it felt like. Fortunately, today is better. It's almost 60 degrees. We did it. We made it
somehow.
Barely.
Goddamn.
Our sanity is mostly intact.
I don't know. That's questionable.
Well, mostly intact.
Yeah.
We're hanging on by a thread, but we are hanging on.
Bitter, but we're here.
Well, we were bitter before, but for other reasons.
That is also very true.
So, anyway,
I
apologize that our Instagram account for like 2 weeks straight was just me complaining
about
the weather.
How is there more snow?
Everyone's probably like, what the fuck? Aren't you an Unsolved Mysteries podcast?
Sure.
Yeah, mostly.
My husband was making fun of me that our Twitter is like half me liking posts from sex workers. And I was like, yeah, it's on brand.
I think so.
This is a sex positive podcast. It just is about unsolved mysteries.
Weirdly, but whatever.
Yeah. Sure. Just let me use Twitter. Whatever. We can use Instagram to just complain about snow.
Well, you're gonna get.
Doesn't matter.
That's gonna end, folks. I think. We never kind of want to jinx ourselves here by saying that that's the last snow of the year, because who knows? My coworkers keep reminding me that the only month that Minnesota's never seen snow is July, which I don't even know if that's true, but it's frightening because that means we have several more months where we could get snow. But I think we're moving in the right direction.
I just want to fall over and take a nap at the idea of more snow.
It's going to melt.
Does that make sense? Whereas it's like, I can't take it. I'm just going to shut down.
We would all just... It'd be a mass exodus from...
Yeah, my neighbor is literally moving away.
Because of the winter.
I don't blame her at all.
I don't blame her at all.
Yeah.
If I had the ability, I might. But here we are.
I keep thinking about the first year I lived in Las Cruces. It was the first day of February. I was sitting at my desk, and my coworker came in and said, "Whew, thank God winter's over." It was the first day of February. And it had been in, the 50s.
For like 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And
damn, that was a rough one.
She was like, "Whew, I'm glad that's..." And I was like, that was it?
That was winter?
That was winter? We're
Shorts
done now?
weather where I come from.
Yeah. And then I go, why did I ever leave?
There's this funny thing that's happening in Minnesota right now, which happens every year, where the same temperature in the spring, people are throwing away their jackets in the nearest dumpster. There's sandals everywhere. And then the same temperature in the fall, people are bringing out their winter coats and scarves. It's so funny because we just came out of the long, dark night, and now
people are like, there's snow on the ground. I don't care. I'm wearing sandals.
Yeah, people are walking around in short sleeves. There's still...
Toes are going to get so cold.
There's still a good 2 feet of snow in most places.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. We are going to get in that vitamin D
any way
we can.
We need it so bad. Anyway, now our Instagram and the podcast itself is just us complaining about the weather.
You're here for snow talk.
Yeah.
With Liz and Samantha.
The point is, we're sorry we missed a week. We couldn't help it.
No, that we can't control the weather.
We can't. We really can't.
I know it seemed like we could, but that was a lie. So here we are, a week behind now. But hey, what you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? It is what it is. Which means we're on episode 4.
Yes, season 2.
Do we have any updates besides?
Oh, I do have a very important update.
Okay.
Thanks to everyone who bought a tote bag.
Yes.
You guys are the best.
Thanks to everyone who bought a tote bag. Thanks to Liz for pretty much handling the sale, shipping, emails, all of that stuff. I did almost nothing for that effort. It's all on Liz. So if you got a tote bag safely in the mail, it was all because of Liz.
Thanks to Barbara who bought 5 tote bags.
We got the order.
And I was like, well...
also,
I wasn't really paying attention, so I just sent her an invoice for 1.
Right.
And then I looked back at it, and I went, wait, 5? Well, that's clearly an error. So I emailed her, and I was like, you don't really want 5, so don't worry about it. And she was like, no, I do.
I do. She said that she wanted to give them as gifts, which is touching and very surprising to me. And it's amazing.
It's amazing. So thank you, Barbara. Thanks to everyone who ordered a tote bag.
Are there any left?
We have like a handful left. So... if you want one, go to our website. It's under merch.
Yep.
You just have to fill out a form and we'll send you a PayPal invoice. If you're wondering about shipping in the US, like lower 48, shipping is a whopping $3.75.
Not bad.
So yeah, we're not trying to sneak in some handling charges. To the UK, I think was $10, and to Australia, look, I'm sorry, Australia, that's $14, but that's the lowest we can do.
It's got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you have any questions about that, get in touch with us.
So these tote bags are spread across the globe.
I know, it's so cute.
Amazing.
People are out there with their shiny rainbow, the cackling has to stop tote bags all over the globe.
I brought a bunch of stuff to the hospital. So my mom was in the hospital last weekend and she's fine. But I went to go pick her up and I brought a bunch of clothes in my cackling has to stop tote bags. And I had to explain the saying to 2 nurses. One of whom was older, and she was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I don't think she knew what a podcast was, but it was super adorable. And people are asking questions about it. They're admiring the tote bags. You're gonna want one if you don't have one. So act fast because
we only have a few left.
We don't have very many left, and we're not planning on doing another run of these. I don't think.
This is a little giving the finger to Joffrey, and we've had a good time with it, but. I don't think we'll make it. I
don't know that we're going to do it again. Certainly not until we get like a e-commerce situation figured out. Because it's a little more challenging to sell them this way, both for us and for the purchaser.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. So we had fun doing it. We hope that everyone who's purchased one is enjoying them. We've gotten a few emails, people telling us
very sweet.
That their tote bags arrived and how excited they were to get them, which is lovely.
Yes. So thank you to everyone there. Do I have any other updates?
I don't know. Someone suggested, I forget on Instagram who you are, that we had discussed getting color changing mugs for our next merch item.
Oh, yeah.
And they thought that the mustache of the person on the mug could change color.
Oh, but who would be on the mug, though?
That was my next question, is who should we put on the mug?
Robbie Stacky?
It could be Robbie Stacky. Because he's wearing a mustache. I'm looking at him right now.
And then he would have different mustaches?
That is...
I have no idea how you get that made. That sounds...
no clue. Very complicated.
Very complicated.
We barely got these tote bags made. It was a lot of work.
This was a nice local transaction. I feel like you need to involve a whole factory to make color-changing mugs.
You need a project team. We couldn't. I don't think we could realistically make that happen, but
It would be lovely. Yeah.
So unless someone out there has some color changing mug connections you want to let us know about.
I think Steph on Twitter sent me a link of a woman who's selling a spray that she claims attracts Bigfoots. So
now
I was like,
there's a merch.
yeah, it was like next merch. And then in the article about it, someone was like, well, how do you know this works? She was like, ooh, tough question. I guess I would say, how do you know it doesn't work? I was like, bitch, that's not
Good point.
No,
Good point.
that's not how that works at all. You can't be like, this medicine cures cancer. How do you know it works? How do you know it doesn't? No. But she, I think, made it as bug spray, and then someone on a Bigfoot expedition
Some citronella spray.
claimed they saw Bigfoot. So she was like, see, it works.
Bulletproof.
Sounds like
Makes
fraud.
sense to me.
But it's only $7.
Okay, that's not that. That's not that much.
So
I don't know. Maybe we'll print up some labels and we'll.
we could make Bigfoot bug spray.
Except that it attracts Bigfoots. And
No,
it
we'll make a
repels
spray
mosquitoes.
that repels both mosquitoes and Bigfoots. When you wear that spray, you won't see a single Bigfoot.
It'll work every time.
Yes.
Genius.
That's what we need. It's like on The Simpsons when Lisa said she had a rock that kept tigers away. And then was like, you don't see any tigers here, do you?
It's working.
Yeah.
He's doing his job. we got to get this website up and running. So we can market this shit.
Bigfoot bug spray. It seems like so long since we recorded.
I know. I don't even know what's happened.
Yeah.
Not much. We've pretty much been
We just
hibernating.
I made this beautiful melted bead.
You did some crafts. Go check it out.
Of Robbie Stacky going back to his home planet because he hates Minnesota now.
This is a work of art.
I mean,
I posted a photo on Instagram. I think there's a photo on all our social medias. You also made a couple alien heads.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give those to someone. Our next Patreon subscriber that's more than $1. You'll get a portrait of Robbie Stacky
Amazing.
and also a gray alien. And maybe I'll put like a little ribbon through it. You can like
Hang it on your Christmas tree?
it on your Christmas tree, yeah, or your
Beautiful.
car window or something. I don't know. Do you remember as a kid when you made crafts out of beads and then you melted it with an iron?
Yep, you put them on the little
Yeah,
forms or whatever. I made the stars.
sure.
I think specifically remember just having shapes, but there is fancier ones.
Yeah.
Yes, and you made
That's
some
what I was
aliens.
doing while I was snowed in my house. Went, oh, today's Perler Bead Day. Do-do-do-do.
Check them out on our Instagram page. And if you're not subscribed on Patreon, you should be, because we put out bonus content every month. And this month, we're going to have an episode out this week. So you're listening to this on iTunes. And if you are a subscriber on Patreon, you can listen to us talk about Deadly Women.
Deadly Delinquents.
Which was...
It's all
it
teenage
exceeded
girl
my
murders.
expectations, I will say. It's an investigation discovery show.
Yes.
And it was good. And bad at the same time.
Right,
But
yes.
you can hear us talk
Good
about it on
cases,
Patreon.
bad reenactments.
And if you subscribe on Patreon for more than $1, you will get...
You'll get Robbie Stacky's hat if you're the first person.
Yeah.
Since I said this. Okay. Should we get into it?
Yeah, this
Samantha.
episode is not my favorite, but...
Oh, yeah. You remember how our last episode 2 weeks ago, you went, ho hum, that wasn't that great. Well...
You're in for it again, because...
It's a fucking lackluster episode.
Yeah, it's really not... There's nothing stood out. There was like maybe one moment that I put on Instagram. If you follow us on Instagram and you watch our Instagram stories, sometimes I take videos of the episode. I won't post them on our regular feed because I don't want to get sued by Unsolved Mysteries, but I will post some funny moments.
And they're definitely not listening. Let's hope for that.
Well, I mean, they have to catch it. It's only there for 24 hours. So I think I'm safe. Plus, can they figure out Instagram?
Yeah.
Listen.
The stories part, probably not.
So, but other than that, like one brief reenactment, like nothing stood out in this episode. But anyway, our first one is a wanted.
Yes, in Nebraska. And this
Yeah.
actually is kind of a weird story.
This is the best case in this episode, I would say.
Yeah.
So we open with shots of a small town, a farmer on his tractor, a little quaint downtown area. Robert Stack's voiceover says that in October of 1986, Anna Marie Anton, a 34-year-old divorcee, moved to this small, isolated community. The town is Lyons, Nebraska, and Anna Marie was a stranger in town. Mary Piper, who is the world's least welcoming mayor, says there's no rational reason why she would move here. People don't move to Lyons, Nebraska.
She was basically like, this town sucks.
Why would you come here?
No one comes here unless...
Like, your family lives here.
Yeah. Or for work, which she sort of implied, like, basically doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, she was like, there's no reason to just move to a town.
To this town.
Yeah.
Which sucks. That I'm a mayor of. I was like, okay.
I'd like to think
Mary
of the
Piper.
sign that says, like, welcome to Lyons, Nebraska. There's no need to move here. And then you go, oh, okay.
All right.
Thanks, Lyons.
Let's drive
Very
through.
welcoming.
Yep. Years earlier, Anna Marie had injured her leg in a car accident. Her friends and neighbors in Lyons would take turns driving her to and from church.
Which seemed to be the only place that she went.
I think it was the only place to go in Lyons, Nebraska.
She
was
went
church.
every day if she could get a ride.
Yeah.
Did I say every Sunday?
No. Every day.
Every day.
Yes.
And the blouses at that church. Whoa. Man, oh man.
Whoa. Poofy sleeves. That's all I'm saying. Shirley Edgecombe, Anna's
Fake
neighbor.
name if I ever heard one. Edgecombe? Yeah. What?
She looked like, I don't know. Shirley seemed like a nice lady. She's definitely your neighbor in Lyons, Nebraska, though.
Yeah, she is like in your business.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. I think everyone probably in this town was, but especially Shirley. Anna's, so she was Anna's neighbor, and she's said that Anna appeared to be a very religious person. She seemed to have high morals. She didn't drink, and she went to church daily if she could find a ride.
Sounds terrible. That's my purgatory right there.
Living in Lyons, Nebraska, and having nothing to do but go to church every day?
Yeah. I mean, even the mayor thinks that place sucks. If you live in Lyons, Nebraska, and you're like, no, it's actually great, we got rid of that mayor, let us know.
Yeah, well, we want to hear about it. So as Shirley and Anna became friends, Anna started to confide in Shirley. Anna said that her ex-husband had been involved in a large drug ring, and she had testified against him and other members. Anna claimed to have moved to Lyons hoping to hide from her ex-husband and his drug ring friends. She said that she chose that apartment because the police chief lived right above her, and in the reenactment, she hands Shirley an envelope and tells her to open it in the event that anything ever happened to her.
This was my favorite part. So, if you had an envelope like that, what would it say inside? Oh. If you were like, Liz, if anything ever happens to me, open this. Which, first of all, am I going to wait all that time? No. But
no, never.
Like, so you go missing. And I'm like, oh yeah, Samantha gave me that envelope. And I open it up.
Well, I would say I would list the top suspects. Like,
okay.
This is who you should look into.
Yeah.
I would probably have instructions. It'd probably be several pages. It would have to be a binder because I'd have all the instructions for caring for my dogs, right? So it's probably got like chapters.
Sure.
There's little dividers in between.
It's like, don't forget about my plants.
Right. And then I have the plant section for how you can water the plants. That seems
you would have like an operations manual.
Yeah.
Like something an office manager would have of like, here's how to run the office.
And no one would ever read it because it would be too damn long.
Here's how to run my life.
Yeah.
My thought was, if I were to give you such an envelope, I would want it to say inside something I say to Mac frequently as I'm leaving the house, which instead of saying, tell my family I love them, I frequently leave and say, tell my enemies I hate them. And then I go about my life. So that if I were to drop dead, say, while I'm out, I get hit by a car, I want Mac to be at my funeral, take someone aside and go, yeah, Liz never really liked you. I don't know why you're here. And that...
Max seems way too nice to do that.
He would never do that.
I would do that for you.
Okay.
I need a list of names, and then one by one.
I'll put that in the envelope.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good idea. Because, Max never going to do that.
There's no way he's going to go, here's the thing. Liz wasn't a fan.
She actually hated your guts.
Yeah. But
sorry about it.
The thought of him doing that makes me so happy that I'm not even sure I would be that sad about being dead. Tell my enemies I hate them.
So on December 16th, 1986, Shirley brought some groceries over to Anna's apartment. She was surprised to find the back door locked. Anna was nowhere to be found. Later that evening, Shirley tried again, but Anna seemed to have disappeared. Police Chief Greg Webb, who lived above Anna, agreed to let Shirley into Anna's apartment. And the guy who plays him in the reenactment is my pick for MDM, mainly because I think that's the only mustache really in this episode.
I have a great
Did I miss
pick
one?
for the next mystery. You want to see the sketch?
Oh, yes, I do.
I call it the...
What? Who was that? Why does it have horns?
I call it the stingray.
It does look like a stingray.
What? This is John in our next mystery.
Okay,
in
I
the
don't
Lost
remember him at
Loves.
all. So, the actor who plays Greg Webb's mustache stuck out to me
The
because
actor who plays his mustache. That would be quite the reenactment.
we have another sentient mustache situation.
There's one guy playing him, but then one guy playing his mustache. And he's just like, he's like in a furry costume and like trying to lie sideways the whole time.
I'm picturing the tryouts for the role of the mustache. This could have been a sentient mustache because it stuck out from his face so far. It was a good half an inch.
It doesn't fit his face.
From his face, it's like stuck out straight.
The guy in the reenactment, who doesn't look a thing.
No. The real
Not
guy
a
didn't
thing like
even
the
have
real
a
guy.
mustache.
The real guy has a very like giant lumberjack face.
Yes.
And this guy in the reenactment is sort of a squirrely dude.
Yeah, very squirrely.
And then they put, I don't know, maybe it was a fake mustache. I don't know.
It was a surprising mustache.
It
Maybe someone was playing that mustache. Its own
I don't
actor.
understand. This was a case where they wanted them to recognize him, and yet they got an actor that didn't look a thing like him.
But anyway, inside Anna's apartment, there was no sign of her. In Anna's room, there was an outfit laid out: shirt, pants, underwear, and her shoes, which was odd because it was winter, and those were apparently like the only shoes she had, or they're the ones she wore most often.
I do basically in the winter at least wear the same pair of shoes.
No,
every
that's
single day.
true. That's true. I have a brown pair and a gray pair. Depending on the outfit, I'm switching between them.
And if you came here like, where's Liz's black boots? Oh no, she must be wandering in the snow without shoes on.
Or murdered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably murdered.
So Chief Webb decided to call the numbers in Anna's address book, but she wasn't with anyone who was listed. Sadly, 11 days after Anna disappeared, her body was found in a remote field. She was shot twice in her torso with a .38 caliber gun. The body was found outside of Lyon's jurisdiction, so a criminal investigator for the Nebraska State Patrol, Jerry Krieger, was assigned to the case. And Jerry Krieger is on the fucking job. This guy thinks he is Sherlock Holmes. He is here for it.
It's good that he was brought in, because otherwise I don't think this would have been solved.
No, he did take his job very seriously. Also, they interviewed him in a closet? Why is he like... It's so dark and shadowy.
It is weird. I think that was supposed to make it dramatic.
Where is he?
But it does seem like he's in a closet.
What
Is
is
he
this?
the one that referred to her body being found in an unclad condition?
Yeah, so one of my notes on this guy is he talks so weird. She was in an unclad condition. At one point, he said she did not succumb to her death in this location. Oh, no, she did not succumb her death in this location. It's
Okay.
like, why? He thinks he's some kind of poet or something. I'm not totally sure.
He's trying to be like really scientific
I
or
think
something.
so. I think so.
But it's almost like he's trying to be so specific with his speech that it's almost confusing.
It's very strange. He
It's
talks
not
in
the
a
way
way...
it's not the way anyone talks.
No, it's not how anyone talks. But he did determine that she had been killed elsewhere and dumped in the field. The reenactment is pretty funny. They show him walking up to the body and someone uncovers it for him. He looks at it for about a second and goes, "Yep, looks like a gunshot wound."
That was his job.
This guy is no actor. He was in the reenactments and he's...
Yeah. I mean, he's good at solving crimes, I guess.
Well, you only have to be good at... I mean...
Not community theater.
That's his real job, so that's fine. The body had been cleaned, and they were not able to recover any physical evidence. The autopsy revealed that Anna's blood alcohol content was 0.22, extremely high for someone who purportedly did not drink. Krieger interviewed Shirley, who told him everything and turned over the note. Upon investigating, however, they discovered that Anna's ex-husband had an alibi and had never been involved in any drug activity.
Yeah, her story about why she had to move to Lyons for fear of her life.
Turns out it was not true at all.
Totally not true.
Which is strange.
It's so
and
weird.
We never really find out why. Maybe she was just... I mean, it seemed like that was a boring-ass place, so maybe she was just trying to liven things up by telling
sort
people...
of for sympathy.
Maybe that, too.
But it's strange that she made up this story about, oh, my life is in danger, and then did end up murdered. It's just unrelated to that because that was not true.
It's weird. This story does take several twists and turns. So the Lyons police and the state patrol met up in the Highway Cafe to, quote, compare notes.
Again, Robert Stack says the word cafe. So weird.
He does.
What's that about?
I'm not really sure. It's kind of how he says attaché case. It's very, yeah, it's his own way of fancy talk.
Just Robert Stackism.
Yeah. They apparently sat in a corner booth that was barely big enough for all of them to sit and talk together.
That's what they love to do. Good thing it was reenacted
like,
for us.
there was no conference room at the police station. I wouldn't really understand.
No, they went to the... I can't even say it the way he says it because it's...
The Highway Cafe.
The cafe.
Yeah.
And yeah, they all crammed together.
Into this booth.
So that their legs could rub together.
It was weird.
It's a little odd.
Krieger somehow begins to interrogate Police Chief Webb. This is what I posted on Instagram because it's fucking hilarious. According to the reenactment, he seemingly out of nowhere asks, "Were you two ever intimately involved?" The guy who plays Webb goes, no, and like takes an awkward drink of coffee. And then he repeats himself. He just says, "Were you ever intimately involved?" And then the guy who plays Webb just goes, "Yeah."
He like cracks under the pressure of being asked a question twice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that reenactment's worth watching.
It was pretty funny. So then Krieger started to consider Chief Webb a suspect. 2 days after Anna's body was found, they tested her apartment for blood. They felt that Webb was listening to them as they were doing this. They did find traces of blood all over her apartment. In fact, there was a trail of blood that led up to Chief Webb's apartment. So, kind of damning. In
the reenactment, they literally have the luminol. They find a blood trail. They follow it up the stairs, and it literally, like, goes into his apartment.
Right.
It's, like, the most damning evidence you ever saw.
It was. During the investigation that night, Greg Webb left the building. The next day, he withdrew $3,000 and disappeared. Krieger got a warrant to search the chief's apartment, where he found a mop with blood on it that was Anna's blood type. They also found a coat in the closet that had blood on it, also Anna's blood type. So Krieger next says that as he started looking into Anna, he discovered that she had 2 lives. One in Lyons, Nebraska, where she was very religious, and one in Arnold's Park, where she was a bar floozy.
I just wrote, yeah, okay. Bar floozy. Is that all she did? Go to the bar?
Yeah, she literally
and be a floozy? She didn't do anything else?
Well, what we're calling a floozy is just, like, friendly. Like, they show her going into the bar and, like...
She's like, oh, you
patting some guy she knows. Yeah, on the back and saying he looks nice. And he's, like, some old guy.
I think it means that, Samantha, brace yourself. She had sex sometimes.
Maybe. Actually, it didn't even seem like that. It just seemed like she walked into a bar and was friendly to some people she knew.
Well, they're not going to put the sex in the reenactment, Samantha.
Sometimes, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, she wasn't as religious as she was in Lyons, I suppose is the point.
So she would carry on with men in this bar, is what
carry on. Think we all know what that means. Or do we?
Or do we? I really just think she was kind of like friendly and flirtatious.
I think she was known to go to a bar and drink there.
Yeah, that seems
shocking.
Yeah. She met up with friends and sat in a booth and drank at a shitty bar, is what they showed in the reenactment.
Well, that's unacceptable.
It's a shady double life she was leading. In this bar is where Greg and Anna met. She mentioned to him that she was looking for a place to live, and he apparently suggested that she move into an unoccupied apartment in his building. He was above,
which is right below
her apartment. Yes.
Yeah.
Robert Stack tells us that Anna was infatuated with Webb, but she soon learned that he had another girlfriend. Anna confided in Shirley about how bothered she was that Greg had a girlfriend and that they weren't married, but they were sleeping together. And she was apparently super upset about this, which is also why I think that she wasn't, like, sleeping around.
That's true. She's very fixated on Webb.
Yeah, so she told Shirley that she could often hear them having sex through the ceiling of her apartment. And in the reenactment, she was like...
pulling at her hair, like, no!
She thought that it was a sin and would sprinkle holy water up and down the stairs and on the doorknobs.
That's not the most normal behavior I've heard.
It's not. But when we're out in the woods doing the same thing with our Bigfoot repellent, sprinkling it on the zipper of our tent
to keep the
Bigfoots away. No.
Yes. Buy it soon.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's you, Bigfoot bug spray.
Yep.
Repel-
Top secret formula.
Repel everything.
Yes. Smells a little like citronella, but it's special ingredients in there. Krieger discovered that on the night of Anna's death, Greg Webb had gone to her apartment very intoxicated. I don't know how he knows this. I think it's maybe the neighbors were nosy. He never says. He speculates that Anna may have confronted him about this other woman, but who knows? I'm not really sure. The next morning, Webb was seen carrying something out of his house in the early morning hours that was vaguely body-shaped and putting it in the trunk of his car.
Poor Anna.
So he was caught thanks to the broadcast.
The reenactment of him carrying her body into a field while the sun is rising is strangely, like, romantic looking, but he's getting rid of a corpse.
Yeah, it's not super well done.
Also, he purposely picked the dump site.
Oh, right.
To cause jurisdiction problems because it is a Native American reservation. But that's why this guy that's actually good at solving crimes was brought in.
Assigned to the case.
So I feel like, for a split second, he was smart. Like, oh, this will cause jurisdiction problems and maybe, like, people won't look into the case as much because who knows who's got jurisdiction.
Right.
But then someone way smarter than him came. Yeah.
It backfired a lot. The case was featured as a part of the October 18th, 1989 episode. This is interesting. It was one of the rare cases where a photograph of the victim was not shown. Also, it was also a rare case in that none of Anna's family members or friends outside of Lyons were interviewed. I'm reading off the Unsolved Mysteries wiki for this, and I don't know why that was. Maybe her family asked that they don't show her photo. That's the only thing I can think of. But the result is that he was captured. In 1991, Anna's mother passed away without ever seeing her daughter's killer apprehended.
Oh, that's
then
terrible.
in 1993, Webb was discovered living in Florida under the assumed name Gregory Jim Weber, working as a construction worker. When his colleague saw his face on a rerun of the broadcast, he immediately contacted the authorities. Although he was charged with first-degree murder, Webb later pleaded guilty to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 7 to 8 years in prison in 1996. Webb was released from prison on August 2nd, 2002. The duplex where Anton lived in the lower apartment and Webb in the upper was demolished in 2008. This guy only got 8 years.
That's sad. This is not a manslaughter case at all.
No, it's ridiculous. It seems like he took a deal or something. I don't know.
I think he
ended up pleading
flat
guilty,
out, but
to a lesser charge. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
8 years for killing someone very premeditatedly.
While you're a police officer.
Yes. Disposing of the body. Like, this isn't...
And then running away.
Yeah.
I think just the fact that he was a police officer should make the sentence more.
You would think, but it
Because
probably
he's
actually
sort of-
was the opposite. And this photo of him with this beard.
He looks like a crazed lumberjack.
He does. He really does. It's frightening.
It's like if the brawny paper towel guy fell on hard times and resorted to a life of crime.
That is kind of what this guy would look
The
like.
paper towel business just ain't what it used to be.
Oh, you know it's not. Thanks to millennials.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know what I was saying with that. Anyway, that was all we had. I would say this is the best.
Yeah. I think the fact that she lied about her ex-husband is an interesting twist.
Yeah. And it's never really, I don't think anyone ever knew why she did that.
I think she's just a liar.
She could have been.
Yeah. It's just a strange, like, you think, like, oh, here she knew she was going to get murdered, and she, like, left the clues to find her killer, and then it's like, no, that
actually was
irrelevant.
And they have this whole thing about her double life, which I think you can go to bars and also church. But it is weird that, like, when she didn't live in Lyons, she was, like, she spent most of her time at
she
bars.
She didn't drink at all.
And then
yeah,
when she went to Lyons, and maybe she knew that her neighbors were super judgmental.
I think she was just trying to impress people in town. She just wanted people to like her.
Yeah. And clearly, she had alcohol in her system when they found her, so she wasn't not drinking like she said she was. So, I don't know.
I think she was just trying to win over people in town.
That's possible.
After she moved there to be close to Jim and then had to listen to him have sex all the time, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
So, it's a bad way to go.
I'm sure
Sorry,
Shirley
Anna.
wouldn't want to be friends with the bar floozy, so
Right.
you're probably right.
Right. I think she was putting on a show a tiny bit.
Yeah, could have been.
Just trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's sad that she was murdered. She seemed relatively nice. I don't know.
I mean,
People seem to like her.
Jim's a dirtbag.
He totally is. You want to talk about this?
Talk about
this
some
next one?
lost loves. This
Yeah.
definitely has my MVM.
Okay.
John's mustache that I'm calling the Stingray.
Is John one of the kids?
Yes.
Okay, I think is it white? Is it a white mustache?
No.
Okay. Someone in this mystery has a impressive white mustache too, I think. Now
So
that
this
I'm
is-
remembering.
This is the lost love of a group of siblings. Specifically, by the time this is being broadcast, they're looking for 2 brothers, but originally it was 6 children. They were from Locust Grove, Oklahoma. In 1959, Edith and Top Rogers, which is not a name, lived in a small shack in Locust Grove, Oklahoma. They had 6 children: Robert, Johnny Lee, Ella Mae, Vernon, Billy, and Joey. It was a very rough life. They were
Yes.
basically not making ends meet. None of the children had shoes. They often were going without food. One of the children, when grown up, said that they could remember a time where they went without food for so long they were weak and just laying in bed and had to
This is a really sad one.
and had to wait for eventually neighbors took pity on them and brought them food. Part of the problem is that Top seemed to drink all their money away.
Yep.
He was also extremely abusive. He abused his wife Edith as well as all the children. Robert remembered a night where he picked up a piece of firewood and tried to swing it at his dad to get him to start beating his mom, and then that didn't work, obviously, because he's a small child, and so it was just a rough
It
situation.
was extremely rough.
I think that Edith, it seemed like Edith really loved them, but the situation was really out of her control, and
it was.
sadly, what could she do, I guess?
She was trapped.
Yeah. So they have a memory of her one day coming home and giving them all presents and saying that was the last chance. I'm going to cry.
So
it's
bad.
so sad.
Yeah.
This is the last chance I'm going to have to. And I think them getting presents was a very special occasion. I don't think that happened very often considering they didn't even have shoes.
Right.
So she gives them all presents and is like, this is the last chance I'm going to have to give it to you. And then Child Services understandably intervenes, deems the home not fit, and takes the children. So they end up, that was in early 1960. And so being small children, they didn't fully process that meant they weren't going to see their mom again or they weren't going to see their siblings again.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think they were happy to get out of there to some degree, but also they loved their siblings.
Right.
6 months after they're removed from the home, Edith commits suicide.
Yeah.
Because it's so sad.
It's really depressing.
Because her life was her children.
Yeah.
And her daughter, Celia, explains that she didn't really have any other family.
No.
So she was just left stuck with abusive Top, who for some reason wasn't arrested or anything.
No. Even though there's clear evidence of all of this.
Yeah, I understand the children needed to be removed from the home, but why doesn't he go to jail? Anyway, it's a different time, I guess. So she swallowed poison, killing herself. So the last time that all the siblings were together was at her funeral.
Where they played Silent Night and they all had to sing it at her grave.
Yeah,
It was
which meant that
fucking weird.
every time they heard that song from then on, it was terrifying.
The oldest son is like, this is not a Christmas carol to me. He's like, first of all, it's really weird that they decided to sing that song. Second of all, now every Christmas I hear that song and all I think about is my mom's funeral and the last time I saw all my siblings. It was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was her favorite song or something, but it's a terrible choice because of the impact it would have on you every time you heard that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it was weird.
Whew. So they're taken to a local orphanage. They're eventually adopted out to 6 different families. understandably hard to find someone to take in
Six
children.
It's still super sad.
Um,
Also, that they were never able to keep in contact with each other.
yeah.
You would think you'd at least, like, give them their address. They could write letters or something.
I'm sure now this would be handled
Much differently.
but I think at the time the idea was, like, this is your life now. Like, you need to forget the past.
I guess.
And that's really not healthy, but I think it was like, here's your new family that's so much better. Like, forget about everything that happened to you before
Right.
that. Which just meant they were, like, cut off from all of their siblings.
Yeah.
Oh, Top was eventually arrested. He goes to his wife's funeral in handcuffs, but it's not for beating her. It's for getting into a fight with another man in Arkansas.
Yeah, it was
So
messed
that's disturbing. So he gets to go to the service, but he's, like, in handcuffs. And I don't know that his children even, like, really interact with him.
Yeah, no. I think at this point, especially for the older ones, they're starting to realize what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
This is a rough one.
So sad. So 23 years later, Ella May, who her name after being adopted is Celia Wagner, wrote a letter to the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. Around the same time, her brother Johnny Lee, now John Reiger, my pick for MVM, also wrote to the same organization, which is great because that meant that on February 10th, 1984, they were reunited in Oklahoma City. 3 weeks later, they located their brother Robert, and they were reunited with him. And then a few weeks after that, they found their brother Vernon. So the four of them were reunited, and they decided to go back to their childhood home in Locust Grove, which I realized they wanted some closure, but I would not want to go back
they
there.
wanted to do this, or like Unsolved Mysteries suggested it?
Why don't you go back to that house of horrors you used to get beaten in?
Yeah, it did not seem like a trip anyone enjoyed.
No.
It was very somber. They were all just kind of like...
It's nice to see, you see, okay, now named Celia and John reunite, and John's like, we were both lit up like a Christmas tree, and it's really cute, and then you see that their brother Robert,
he might have been the one.
It turned out that he lived, like, pretty close to John.
There was one, the youngest one, it turns out that they had, like, met each other. They, like, had the same friends.
I think that's Vernon.
They, like...
Found out, like, oh, we've actually, like, met socially numerous times, and I had no idea who was my brother. We have, like, mutual friends.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But I'm kind of cool to them
Yeah.
that they live so close together, and I don't know, they can hang out now. So they decided to go back to their horrible childhood home, possibly because Unsolved Mysteries made them, I'm not sure. According to Unsolved Mysteries Wiki, the visit brought back painful memories of the past. Oh, no shit. No shit.
Yep. They also went and saw their father's grave.
Yes.
Which, why didn't just spit on it? I mean, I guess Unsolved Mysteries
There's
probably
a
didn't want
really
them to do
nice
that.
part, which I think, like, explains so much about why situations like this are so awful. I think it's Robert. He's at his father's grave. He's explaining that he's spent the last 18 or whatever years of his life hating his father every day.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably.
Yes.
Rightfully so. And then he finds out he's dead. He doesn't really have to hate him anymore. And he's, like, looking down at it, and he's like, I kind of wish I could tell him I'm sorry, and maybe he would tell me that he's sorry. But
Yeah.
there's nothing for him to be
I know.
sorry for.
That part was like, it was. I know. I felt so bad for him, and he was at one point saying, "I spent my entire life imagining a situation in which I saw him again, and I would tell him, try to do to me what you did to me as a child."
Yeah, basically, I'm gonna kick your fucking ass.
Right.
But he phrased it nicely.
And then when he finds out he's dead, he's like, all that just immediately left me. Like, the desire to,
Right.
get revenge on him just left, and now I just wish that we could both apologize to each other, which I'm like, why would you apologize for anything?
I mean,
These people were
they seem so
suffering
nice.
some lasting effects from this. And
Absolutely.
My heart breaks.
Of course. This is such a sad situation. And at one point in the reenactment where they're standing in their childhood home, John says, like, well, I'm glad we got adopted out. Like, we're all better off, don't you think?
Yeah.
And it's like, clearly they missed each other so much, but they also were recognizing, like, this was not a life and we had to get out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna cry.
It's so sad. I mean, it has a happy ending because they're all reunited and they're all
Yes.
so happy.
So the mystery when this was aired is that they were still seeking Billy and Joey Rogers. So they aired this segment looking for the last two brothers so that they could all be reunited. And I think they both watched the episode.
One for sure said that he was watching it.
was
He
watching
jumped
it
up and was like, "That's me."
They're looking for me. Oh,
Yeah.
so sweet. So you see them like reunite at the airport and they're all hugging and clearly related. They look
Yes.
so similar.
Yes.
And talking about how they love each other and oh my, it's
really cute.
honestly really sweet. There is something about Unsolved Mysteries. I should look into more how they did these interviews because they really get some men to open up that I feel like are probably kind of macho.
Yeah, these guys are for sure. They look like truck drivers
in other
honestly.
environments, but here they're going like, I just want you to know that I love you.
Yeah,
and
it's freaking sweet as hell.
it's the opposite of toxic masculinity.
Yeah,
People are
I
really
love it.
opening up and being very mushy about their siblings and the lives that they would spend together, and it was so sweet.
Yeah.
So the last two brothers were found. They both had totally different names, which I think is part of why they had trouble finding them. Billy was now Chuck Young, and Joey was now Rusty Davenport or Rusty Durant. So I'm gonna have to take back my phrase. Trust no Rusties. This
Rusty seemed fine, but
he saw nice. He seemed nice.
Well, I guess I was gonna say that's not necessarily his given name. I mean, it was
That's
given
true.
to him, but
That's
that was
true.
the same for the last Rusty too. So that doesn't hold up either. Anyway, generally speaking.
Yeah. Sadly, John passed away in 2006.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's sad.
Yeah. But at least he got to be reunited with his siblings for a while.
Yeah.
Because it clearly meant a lot to him. And I think I'm just going to go cry now.
Sweet
It's
one.
so, I mean, I can't imagine if I was like 8 and taken away from my brother and never saw my brother until I was in my 30s.
I know. Trying to imagine it is horrible.
Just what a loss that would be.
Yeah.
And then to find out, it's like, oh, he's a few miles away down the road.
Right. And then you can only think of all of the years you've missed out on.
Yeah.
They're right there.
Ugh.
That's
Just
terrible.
awful. Anyway.
We
If
have one
you
more.
need a good cry, maybe watch that one. Otherwise,
So we have another case. This is the murder of Ralph Probst in Cook County, Illinois. So 30-year-old Ralph Probst was an Illinois sheriff's officer in Cook County. And
honestly, don't trust anyone from the Cook County Sheriff's Department.
yeah.
That's, I mean,
Yeah.
Chicago isn't Cook County. That was my immediate reaction. I was like, what kind of corrupt thing is this guy into? I don't
mean,
trust him one bit.
We could do some speculating. So he had been a chemical engineer, but later decided to pursue a career in law enforcement. On the night of April 10th, 1967, he and his wife, Marlene, were watching the Oscars together. At some point, Marlene fell asleep. Later, she woke up to the sound of an explosion and glass breaking. She saw a cloud of smoke from behind the television set. When she went into the kitchen, she found her husband dead on the floor. He had been shot once in the back of the head through the kitchen window. By the time Marlene summoned help, Ralph was dead. On the day that he was laid to rest, his partner, Bob Borowski, vowed to catch his killer. The two first met in 1964 when they were both assigned to the Special Elite Tactical Squad.
Uh-huh.
Ralph earned himself the reputation of someone who played strictly by the rules. This gained him at least one bitter enemy, notorious mobster Sam DeStefano.
Sure.
I think I said that right.
It doesn't matter.
A few months before Ralph's death, he and Bob were assigned to guard DeStefano, and when Ralph handcuffed Sam, who was ill in the hospital, to his bed, he told Ralph that he was going to kill him.
Dun, dun, dun!
The reenactment is really funny. It's just this, like, no-nonsense cop that's like, I don't give a shit who you are. This guy's wearing, like, a fucking smoking jacket in his hospital bed.
Yeah, he's like trying to get fancy food.
Yeah,
and some woman is there like outside of visiting hours or something.
Right, and Ralph is like, fucking get back in bed. What are you doing? And then he's like, you better sleep with one eye open for the rest of your life, pal.
And he's like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Police found out that Ralph had been shot with a rare .41 caliber Magnum. This gun had only recently been produced. The bullet that killed Ralph had ricocheted off of a kitchen cabinet and landed on the stove. Nobody witnessed the gunman, while some did hear a shot. It is believed that the killer was watching Ralph through the kitchen window, lying in wait until he had the right chance to shoot. When investigators learned of DeStefano's threats, he was suspected, along with Ralph's wife. Both were later cleared of any involvement in the case, and police began to suspect that Ralph may have been secretly working to bring down a vice ring. They first suspected his wife because they were like, a cloud of smoke? Like, that's like from the movies. Like, that doesn't actually happen. And what they did was they brought a gun and like a crime scene analyst to the house, and they shot through the window from various distances, and they discovered if you were right up against the window that there really was a puff of smoke that came through inside the house.
Yeah, and there was also glass was found outside the house and not inside the house, so it sort of made it seem like the bullet was shot from inside. Right. But then when they did the, not reenactment, whatever you want to call it.
The test or
the
whatever.
test, that actually, if you were shooting right up against the glass of that window, that happened.
It did fall back
So
on you.
thank goodness that they tested it, because otherwise they would have wrongfully arrested Marlene, who had a sweet beehive.
She did. And it was funny because in the reenactment of the test, her and one of the police officers are sitting on the couch inside the house. It was a pretty small house. You could see the kitchen.
Yeah.
And they just kind of like both cheer when the puff of smoke comes through.
Like, I'm not a murderer! Yay!
Exactly. Which is unfortunate that she had to go through that. But I mean, you do have to look at the loved ones in these situations.
Pretty much always them.
Also, her story sounded a little bit BS. She was like, I was sleeping on the couch and I woke up and there was a puff of smoke and my husband was dead.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, right, lady.
Yeah.
But it turns out she was not involved at all. So, investigators learned that on the afternoon of the murder, Ralph visited a gas station and made a call from a payphone. Bob believes that Ralph was told that he would receive another phone call later that night. He believes that this was a setup to ensure that Ralph would be in the kitchen when the gunman arrived. Investigators suspected that an ex-convict named Frank Calvice might have been the killer, especially after Ralph had apparently visited Frank shortly before his death. Also, a man resembling Frank was looking at a home for sale across the street from Ralph. The man had asked if the layout was similar to the layout of the Probst home. However, in 1974, Frank Calvice died without ever being charged with the crime. Bob Borowski plans to continue the work on the case until Ralph's killer is found. So the segment ran for the first time in August 22nd, 1990. Some references to this case claim that the partner of Ralph Probst was murdered, which is incorrect. This is according to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki. The result is that it's unsolved. They never found his murder.
It's
no
weird.
one knows what happened or why. And I think everyone is pretty much dead now. So it probably will never be solved.
It's weird.
It's weird. It is very weird. But I mean, I assume as a police officer in this area, well, in any area really, you make a lot of enemies. And it could have been anyone. And they were kind of talking in the show, they were like, how would anyone know that he was going to be in the kitchen at that time? Well, if you're stalking the house, you're just waiting for him to walk by.
Yeah, I don't understand. They're like, well, they wouldn't just wait outside for a long time. And I was like, why not?
Yeah, he's there to kill him. Like,
eventually he's going to get up from watching the Oscars and want something to drink.
and the house was really small. It's not like it was this giant mansion
Yeah.
where, like, in what room could he be in? It's like, there's two
like
rooms.
this one or that
yeah,
one.
basically. He's going to walk by. They also seem to think that this person had to be a professional because they shot through a window and hit him square in the back of the head. Which, I mean,
Maybe.
that could be. He could also just be a lucky shot. Also, it was not that far away. Again, it was pretty much, he was a few feet away. Because it was a very small house. So, I don't know. It seems like it could have been anyone.
I don't know that it's really, like, such a brilliant move to be like, oh, he's probably going to be home watching the Oscars. Like, he might have told people he would be home watching the
Right.
Oscars.
And then you just always home at night.
Just wait for him to eventually go to his kitchen.
Right.
Like, what? They're acting
When
like...
are the Oscars on? Like Sunday night? Like,
Yeah.
he probably works on Monday. Like, of course he's going to be home.
Yeah, they're acting like it would take some brilliant mastermind to figure that out, and it seems really obvious.
Yeah.
It makes me think of a problem in England for big TV events like the World Cup, where everybody's watching TV at the same time. When there's commercial break, so many people put the kettle on that it interferes with the electrical grid.
Wow.
Because so many
That's
people
hilarious.
go and make tea at the same time. So I was like, it's just a commercial came up and he went to go get some water and then ended up shot.
They have similar issues with the sewer systems in places like where the Super Bowl is, where at halftime everyone's going to the bathroom.
No.
That it can cause a lot of problems. Like, we had to consider this year when the Super Bowl was here, and luckily our infrastructure I don't think it suffered at all, but yeah, everyone gets up at the same time and goes to the bathroom and runs the the sink or whatever, and flushes their toilets, and then you're overloading the system, which is gross to think about, but...
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. That is gross.
I mean, listen. Anyway.
Unsolved. I did like that
Unsolved.
house, though. It was cute. It had those blue metal cabinets. It looked like, it
was cute.
the houses of yesteryear.
Yeah, it was the opposite of a Property Brothers type.
Yeah.
Open layout.
That's all I want, man.
I'm picking out a lot of things, and I always run things by Liz, and she always comes back. Like, I was looking at countertops the other day, and I'm sending her some photos. Like, what do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? And she sends me back, like, glittery pink. She's like, if I could pick out countertops for my house.
This is what I would get. She's like, this is not what I asked you.
They're adorable. Like, I don't even know these things exist. So it's fun when you send them to me, because I'm like, oh, what about mint green?
Boomerang countertops. Yes.
I love it.
Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
Apparently everyone except me.
Well, I mean, we live in the era of flipper flop or whatever.
The grayish. Not gray, not beige.
The
grayish.
Should we rate this episode?
Yeah.
Mysteriousness. Well, the first one was like an America's Most Wanted, really.
Yeah.
It
Second
did take some
one,
impressive investigative work.
There's a good
figure
twist
it out,
to it.
But it really wasn't.
It's not really
wasn't a mysterious story. Neither was the second one.
No. But the last one's unsolved. So I'm going to give it a sideways.
Sideways
A
for
lower
me.
Sideways.
Reenactments. There was a few moments.
Yeah, I'd say that's an upper sideways.
Yeah, we're like leaning towards up. I don't know. Because some of them
there's
are good.
some good moments.
You can, the reenactments you can do in a case where children and families are abused and separated.
That one's not good.
Like, there's just no
her
room.
pulling at her hair because she has to hear sex noises.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. So it's leaning towards up. Fashion, I didn't even really notice any.
There's you get a lot of church blouses.
True.
You get
Lions,
Marlene
Nebraska church
in her
outfits.
beehive wearing some Oscar watching apparel. And sideways.
There's a sideways on that. And
Yeah.
Robert Stack, we hardly saw Robert Stack in this episode.
That's true. This is if you're only watching Unsolved Mysteries to, I don't know,
See Robert Stack.
see Robert Stack, you're gonna be disappointed.
Not your favorite
but
episode.
in the second one, he's wearing a lovely suit, which I wrote down gray suit on Stack and even underlined it because it was so nice.
So a thumbs up.
The fabric of it is just like
Looks expensive.
so expensive. I mean, he's always dressed to the nines, but that's a good one.
All right, we're a thumbs up then.
Thumbs
for Robert
up
Stack.
for Robert Stack, who can't say the word cafe.
Or is he saying it right and we're all saying it wrong?
Probably. Actually, we should probably assume he's doing it right.
Probably.
Why am I assuming I'm right?
Probably.
I'm right about nothing.
How do you rate this episode out of a possible 5 Robert Stacks?
2.5?
I was thinking 2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. It's not the worst. I mean, it's not the
No.
mystery where a bunch of dogs die.
Oh, it's
So
we're never supposed to speak of that again.
Sorry, we forgot to mention in that episode that there was a moment where one of the police officers said that around here, what did he say? Like, if you shoot a person, it's one thing, but if you shoot a dog, we're coming for you.
It was like, he was trying to explain that people in the area were dog lovers, and he was saying, there's people in these parts who would, like, shoot you over their dog before they would their wife or something. Basically, like, people like their dogs better than their wives. Yeah, but that segment was so depressing that I forgot about the one humorous moment of that guy explaining people's deep affection for their hunting dogs, which they prefer to their wives.
Well,
Okay.
I mean,
But we're never supposed to speak of that again.
oh yeah, that's
Samantha.
right. Sorry about that. That's it for this episode, really.
Yeah.
Nothing more to say.
Check out John's stingray mustache. So, what makes it the stingray, you're wondering?
Liz, what makes it the stingray?
So, it's, upper lip, sure. It comes down on both sides, sure. Which is sort of
Standard. That's like
it has a little
biker
flip
stash.
to it.
Okay.
But he doesn't shave the very top of his mustache. And so the hair, I am sorry to speak ill of the dead, but it goes into each nostril.
It resembles the head of a stingray.
And then this comes down. This is like the body. You know?
We'll do a side by side with Liz's drawing and the photo. I don't remember in that much detail, but also I think I was upset about this segment and I wasn't paying very close attention. Liz had to take notes, so she was paying attention. I was just kind of like waiting for it to be over.
I wrote down at one point, "Oh no, Rusty," because his name got changed to Rusty.
I do remember that part.
Yeah, I wish the best for all of those siblings, and they're a very sad tale, and I hope they're all doing better, and I feel bad that John has passed away.
It seems like they are doing better, or at least they were when this episode came out. So.
Yeah.
Liz, what is your recommendation?
Oh, I'm excited to talk about this recommendation.
Okay.
I have to talk about the only thing that got me through
The snowstorm?
the Monkey's Curse blizzard, which was watching Drag Race Thailand.
Oh, I should have known you were going to recommend this.
Because
I've yet to check it out, but I really need to.
Was the only light in my life. It was the only thing that brought me joy as the snow fell all around us. If you are familiar with RuPaul's Drag Race, they recently aired... Yeah, you should be. It's the best thing on television. They recently aired a version in Thailand, which... I don't think you're really supposed to be able to watch, but it's on YouTube. You can find it.
If you have a favorite show that you watch in America, I would encourage you to find the same version of that show from other countries, and I guarantee 9 times out of 10 it's going to be better. The Australian version of MasterChef, fucking amazing. And
really,
they play like an episode a day. That show is huge over there.
Whoa.
It's crazy, and it's so good. Like here, like you watch the Australian version, and it's like you can tell that the American version is highly staged.
Right.
And that the Australian one is just so much better.
Huh.
But it's extremely hard to find because we're not meant to watch Australian. Like, you're supposed to be in Australia to watch it.
Well, that's dumb.
Yeah. But it's really good.
It's a wide world. Share all the television with me.
And now we're learning a great thing about RuPaul's Drag Race.
RuPaul's Drag Race. So it's called Drag Race Thailand. The host, who I really like, is Art Aria, who is actually known more as a fashion designer.
Whose Instagram is amazing.
The looks are so
stunning.
Beautiful. So she's not really a drag performer, which is kind of interesting. She is a fashion designer and went to school in France and in Thailand and now teaches and also teaches like catwalking and stuff like that. So it has a little bit of a different approach in that way. And then she has a co-host named Pagina Heels, who is amazing also, and is the performer. So you're getting sort of feedback from that's, I guess, her Michelle Visage, except that it's a little bit more involved in the show.
Okay.
So the format, if you're familiar with RuPaul's Drag Race, is the same thing, except that it's a full hour long each episode.
Oh, amazing.
Yes. So you get a mini challenge every time. You get more of the maxi challenge, and you get a full runway for each person.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's amazing. If you love RuPaul's Drag Race anyway, this is so great.
You made a bold statement when you told me about this, which was that it is better than season 10. RuPaul's Drag Race season 10 is out right now, and you said that Drag Race Thailand is better.
I got so into watching Drag Race Thailand, I completely forgot about season 10.
That's saying a lot. Liz loves the show.
And then every so often I'll be like, oh yeah, I guess I have another episode of season 10 I haven't seen yet. I paid to watch that. I bought that on Amazon, and I kept forgetting about it because I was enjoying Drag Race Thailand so much.
Is it subtitled? I assume it.
Okay.
It must be.
So you can find this on YouTube. I don't think it's supposed to be there. You're going to need to search for DRTH.
Okay.
Drag Race Thailand with English sub the episode you want.
Are you going to link directly to it?
I will.
Okay.
I will.
On our website?
So that's...
Don't tell anybody, you guys.
Yeah. So that's how I found it. Someone has meticulously gone through and put subtitles on it, including...
They're doing the Lord's work.
When things are puns.
Oh my God.
So that you can understand jokes. They translated the songs, because sometimes they're lip syncing to songs in English, but sometimes they're in Thai.
Okay.
So they'll translate the songs for you so you understand like
Wow.
dance moves that are
Not
happening.
all heroes wear capes, you guys.
I know. It's really the Lord's work, and I appreciate it so much because it's so good. The looks are incredible. The fact that it's longer. Everybody on the show, okay, if you like Drag Race just for catfighting, you're not going to like this so much.
Okay.
Because there's, especially after the first few people go, way more of a sense of camaraderie.
Happens.
Yes.
Which I think is how these things really are, but they edit them and stage fights. This is my,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
that doesn't
that's how
really-
we do things
that
on
doesn't really
American
happen.
reality TV.
Everybody seems really nice and they all like get along. They're clearly not being sequestered at some hotel. They
Oh,
seem to
okay.
go home.
Oh.
And they have jobs. One of them works on a shrimp farm. One of them sells caskets. Like, they're real people, right? And so they're not being kept away from all their family and loved ones that I think on reality shows kind of drives people insane. They're also not drinking.
Okay.
At least not on the show. Like, when the pit crew comes out, they specifically mention that they're giving them juice. So I don't think that they, like, you know, you don't have these, like, big fights where it's like, you know, I don't have a sugar daddy, but if I wanted a sugar daddy, I could get, you know, you don't have those moments. I personally prefer it.
Same.
So, yeah, it's everybody getting along. You get to see the different challenges. You get to see people's amazing looks. The runways are longer, and that's really... And people bring out, like, way more props. Like, their runway shows, or whatever you want to call it, are way more involved.
Wow.
And people get much more direct, actually... What if you were wondering, oh, what is constructive criticism? Where it's like, this is why this person won, and this is why you didn't win, and this is what you could work on for next time, and blah, 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 blah. It's adorable. It's fascinating to see elements of the, like, weird subculture of Drag Race in another part of the world where people are also screaming out, like, yes, work, bitch! But it's in Thailand. But then there's also all these elements of Thai culture, so it's super fascinating. I feel like I talked about it for too long, but it's really interesting.
You made a great case for it.
I recommend
I definitely need to find some
torrenting
time.
it or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Find it. It's out there.
Amazing. So I am recommending another podcast. And actually, I'm recommending another Max Fun podcast, not because I like...
Because you're addicted to Max
I
Fun.
mean, Max Fun Call Us will be on your network. No, I'm kidding. But not really.
But you should do that.
So this is not a new podcast. They've been around for several years, I think. But it's new to me. So someone in our book club recommended it, and I had heard it before, and I just never got around to downloading it. It is called Sawbones.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't.
The full title is A Marital Tour of Misguided Medicine. So the hosts are Dr. Sydney McElroy and her husband, Justin. So Sydney is a doctor. She is a family medicine doctor, and then her husband is not. I think her husband might be a writer or something. Her husband is fucking hilarious, though. And the premise of the show is that they pick one topic, and Sydney researches it, or sometimes I think she just knows a lot of the stuff because she's a doctor, and then she tells her husband about it. And they have, because they've been around forever, they have a million topics, and sometimes they'll do things that are in the news.
Okay.
So they did, the episode that really got my attention first was they did raw water.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I work in public health, and that just, nothing makes me more insane than the people that think that our mostly potable water in this country and that we can just turn on the tap and get clean water. People literally go out and buy dirty water because they think it's healthier for you. Anyway, they did a whole episode about it, and I fucking love it. They did the CDC and medical censorship, which was super interesting. When when it came out that the CDC was discouraging or banning, depending on who you talk to, certain words like fetus and stuff like that. They did a whole episode about that and like the history. So a lot of these are history. So they also did like the history of wound care. So they'll talk about throughout history how people would take care of wounds. I'm just scrolling through some of they did aspirin, they did snoring, tickling, eugenics, opioid addiction, erectile dysfunction. They did a whole series on conversion therapy that I listened to that was really good.
Oh, wow.
And like the history of it. They have tons of episodes, and it's one of the podcasts that I'll just put on while I'm at work if I'm doing something that I don't need to focus on quite as much, and I can kind of listen to this in the background. And her husband is hilarious, and he'll just throw out like dad jokes and stuff.
Oh, God.
And it's really funny. They don't swear. Like I think I don't
Sure.
know if kids would dig this topic, but
You could
if you're
potentially
not
listen to it around.
If you're listening to our podcast, you're not put off by swears. But if you are put off by swears, I think this would be a podcast
Something
you
you can
enjoy.
listen to with your children and the elderly.
And you learn a lot. So if you're one of those people that likes, stuff you missed in history class or how stuff works, like I think you would
Podcasts
really
other
enjoy.
than this podcast, because we teach you nothing.
No, we really do. And she's an actual expert. So she's actually a doctor. She teaches medicine. She teaches residents and stuff. So she's super smart and knowledgeable about all these things. And I really appreciate her scientific approach to things.
Yeah.
Like when they just did GMOs, they tried to be very scientific about it and only talk about, the things that there's science-based evidence for and things like that, which I really appreciate. I thought it was a good, they've done other topics like that, like controversial topics like fluoride and things like that.
So you don't want a delicious glass of raw water, Samantha?
Fuck no. Dirty water. Literally
Yeah.
water that has not been treated. That's not like spring water. I don't know if everyone knows about this raw water craze.
I do.
But it's not like spring water, which is what Coca-Cola takes from some city in Pennsylvania to sell to people. This is dirty, it's specifically untreated water, which I don't even know how you could legally sell that. Maybe because the government hasn't gotten around to regulating it yet.
Because they
But,
didn't think anybody would ever want it.
Yeah.
They didn't bother.
Instead of going to your tap and turning on the clean water that you get, that there's people in fucking Puerto Rico that can't get clean water. They have to literally drink water because it's all dirty water because it's the only thing they have to drink.
Yeah.
And we here,
We're bathing in it. We're
Yeah.
showering. Yeah.
the vast majority of Americans can turn on their tap and get clean, fresh drinking water. And there are people that are deciding not to drink that and instead to drink dirty water. Pay money to go get dirty water. It drives me crazy.
It's really maddening to me because one of my least favorite things about my fellow Americans is when talking about other countries, they will act like another country is inferior because it doesn't have a big water infrastructure system. So if you've ever heard someone putting down Mexico going, oh, you can't drink the water, it's like, well, they just don't have the same infrastructure that we do.
Right.
There's lots of reasons for that, such as us exploiting them. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, hello.
But that's not a reflection of the people or the quality of the culture. But you'll hear people say stuff like that.
Right.
You can't drink the water there. Therefore, I would never go there. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So the idea that rich people would now pay for undrinkable water to drink.
Yes.
It is extremely frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating that we would take advantage of it to the extent that there are people in this world who have no choice but to risk their health drinking dirty water because it's all they have access to.
Yeah.
And we are privileged enough to be able to turn on a tap in our fucking house and have an unlimited supply of clean water, and yet we would decide to pay money to some asshole because we think we need the minerals from it or something, or because we're afraid of fluoride. I don't even understand. It drives me crazy.
We're really good at creating problems that just don't need to exist.
Yeah.
Right? We got people, with the exception of Native American reservations, people really there don't have access to clean drinking water, which is a huge crime.
There are people in this country who, it's not most though.
No.
And unless you're under a boil advisory or something, your water is probably okay.
Oh my God. Oh, I love that we're going on a huge tangent about water. But my friend Crystal used to work at a coffee shop that was in a mall, and this was in Aurora, Illinois, and it got a boil advisory. So she couldn't make people cold beverages.
God.
Right? Sadly, because it's a corporate coffee shop, they didn't just fucking close, which would be the reasonable thing to do.
Right.
Give everyone a paid day off while they fix the water situation. So she had to spend her day explaining to everyone, I can make you hot coffee, but I cannot make you a frappuccino. And then people would go, yeah. So give me a frappuccino. And right, and being extremely indignant, and then asking if there was other parts of the mall they could go to where the water was fine. People just not understanding the boil advisory. But I
don't understand.
The part that I always bring up and will never ever forget is someone very indignantly telling her that they should be able to get an iced coffee because there's no water in ice.
I don't want to live in this world.
I know. And I will never forget that as long as I live. I bring it up all the time. that she was like, yeah, I can give you a hot coffee, but I can't give you an iced coffee because of the water situation. And they were like, why? There's no water in ice.
I almost like.
How do you not slap that person? That's a moment in like customer service. Bravery. Courage.
God. I have to say,
how do you not kick that person and go get the fuck out of this store?
I could say, and maybe not everyone is like this, but when I worked in customer service, because I worked at a coffee shop for 6 years, these didn't happen very often. Fortunately, there's not that many of these dumb people out there. But I lived for the moments when someone would come in and say something like that, because usually you have to be very polite.
Yeah.
And you can't say,
that's the dumbest fucking question I ever heard.
Actually, ice is made out of water. Like, that's one of those moments where you can kind of tell someone off a little bit.
Right.
Like, I had one guy come in, and he wanted coffee, and he's like, Colombia, Ethiopia, like, why isn't there any American coffee? And I just had to be like,
my
dude,
God.
because we don't exactly have the climate to grow it here. That's why. Like, that's why there's no Minnesota coffee, because it snows here, idiot. Like, I loved those moments.
It hurts.
It hurts your soul because you don't want to believe that people are that dumb. But also, it was like just a tiny bit of a nugget of joy in your shitty fucking existence when you had to work in customer service.
Told her to go clean out the ice machine.
Oh my God, fuck you.
Yeah.
Ugh. Those are the worst people you have to deal with. People in customer service are saints. I don't know how I made it so long.
It's rough.
I
think everybody
be nice
should
to
have
them.
to work customer service because
everyone should. Everyone should have to work at like a fucking call center or something.
It'll make you nicer and it'll make you a better tipper. And it'll make you understand that there's a limit of how much you can control. And if a city's water supply has been contaminated, a little coffee shop cannot fix that problem.
Also, fuck you. You're in here you can't get your iced coffee. Boo fucking who.
Buy a bottled beverage.
You have to buy a hot coffee instead of an iced coffee today? I feel so sorry for you.
I mean, that is rough.
My
Poor
God.
babies.
People are the worst.
I hope they started a GoFundMe for the trauma.
Ugh. Anyway, what were we even talking about?
That was Water Talk with Liz and Samantha. Check your privilege, everyone, and enjoy your not raw water.
If you send us emails about
the glories of raw water,
or how you don't want to drink fluoride, I will fucking block you.
I will send you an email saying you are not allowed to listen to this show anymore. We are fortunate. Minnesota has really great tap water, which is not true everywhere. If you live in Chicago, please filter your water. They just found there was a ton of lead in it. So I don't.
Yeah, there are places in this country.
I don't know what you should do about that, but I'm sorry if we're sitting here talking about great water. And Flint still doesn't have drinkable water.
I mean, there is.
That's a fucking
unfortunately,
crisis.
And
that's
for the vast majority
of
Americans, we do have potable water. Unfortunately, Flint does not, and it's a tragedy, and it's unacceptable in our country.
I can't believe that's gone on for so long. It's just a national embarrassment. It's a real.
It really
black
is.
mark in our history that is continuing.
It continues to be. It's unacceptable because
they're going to stop providing drinkable water too, and they haven't fixed it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what
Puerto
people are
Rico
supposed to do.
is that. Don't even get me started.
I know.
It's ridiculous. Anyway.
I
could go on and
absolute chaos. Yeah.
Minnesota's getting a lot better since it stopped fucking snowing every day.
I like to think we're like basically Canada. I'm waiting for the day. I would love, you know how Texas every so often is like, we're going to secede, and everybody's like, yeah, okay. I want Minnesota to secede and become part of Canada. And I'm pretty sure Trump doesn't even know there's a Minnesota.
I don't think so. We could probably just disappear.
I don't think he would notice until someone came to him about like redoing the flag.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, what? There used to be a Minnesota. And then he would just go back to eating his fish fillet sandwiches and watching Fox News.
They probably wouldn't even tell him.
Probably not. I mean, why
change
bother?
all the flags. He'd never notice.
Yeah. Or they'll just be like, no, one of those stars is for Puerto Rico, that place we're not helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Give me another fish fillet.
Yeah. I'm going to go golf now. Help us! Help us!
Save us. Okay, that's all we have for you. Should we plug our shit?
If you want to give us some money on Patreon, you can listen to our bonus episodes. We have a new one coming out
This week?
We are on the social medias as Perhaps It's You.
On
You
all
can
of them?
email us, but do not fucking email us about
Fluoride.
You can email us at perhapsitsyouPodcast@gmail.com. Anything else? We have a couple tote bags left, so if you want them, snatch them.
Get them. If you are concerned, the situation we have for buying the tote bags has prevented you, if it's been a barrier, just send us a message. We'll figure out how to sell you a tote bag in a way that you feel comfortable with. I think that's all we have.
Yes, we thank you for listening.
Thanks for being patient in our snow situation.
We appreciate you turning into snack talk, turning into water talk.
Turning into complaining about the snow.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
and
Lenny.
Lenny says, hey, Lenny, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Lenny.
Oh! Aww.
Lenny. Oh, he's still going. What was that?
Lenny, thanks y'all for listening.
Bye.